Hello and welcome to another episode of the Leadership Lens, where we speak with global leaders to understand their take on the evolving economy and market scenario. Today, we have with us someone who's not just a young entrepreneur and visionary, but who now uses his own experience to mentor and also fund other young D2C visionaries. We have with us Arjun Vaidya, founder of Dr Vaidyas, which was acquired by the RP Sanjiv Goenka Group, and now CEO of Verlinvest, a VC firm that supports e-commerce and D2C brands. Welcome, Arjun. It's great to have you at the Leadership Lens.
Thank you, Shiny. I'm very excited for this conversation. I'm a big fan of what you guys are trying to do with this content and happy to be a part of it. Thank you for inviting me.
Awesome. Thank you so much for those kind words. So, Arjun, you are the first Ayurvedic entrepreneur to be featured in the Forbes 30 under 30. I just love the thinking and the vision that's gone behind building Dr. Vaidyas, where you picked up something that was a completely traditional space and turned it around and modernized it in the best possible way. And thanks to entrepreneurs like you, Ayurveda is making a very strong comeback with the Indian consumer. Do you want to throw some light on what are the changes in consumer behavior that we're seeing here?
Look, I'll actually tell you what happened when I decided to start and then what we're seeing now, right? So I'm Bombay born and raised. I went to college in the US. I come from a family legacy of 150 years of Ayurveda. But when I went to the US, I saw something very interesting, right? Other than my experience being in a US college, I saw yoga being repackaged, right? Yoga mats, yoga gyms, yoga apparel, Lululemon, multi-billion-dollar industry in the US. I remember calling my grandfather from campus and saying, it's amazing that yoga is global, but it's not so amazing that Indian companies didn't take it to the world, right? So the repackaging wasn't done by us. And we can't let the same happen with Ayurveda. I moved back to India 2013, and I came back to a different India, right? I came back to an India which was not obsessed with imported products like the India I grew up in. In the 90s, you went to stores which only sold imported products because at that time, what was considered imported was good and what was Indian was substandard. That had changed, right? Indians were now happy to consume quintessentially Indian brands. The fund I was actually working at was an investor in Fab India. And so I got the good fortune of seeing this company blossom and flourish, right? The second thing is, I was the youngest member of the team at the fund. And so they said, hey, this thing called e-commerce seems to be happening in India. So why don't you spend some time on it? And in 2013 and 14, I got to spend time on companies like Myntra, Jabong, Pepperfry, Bluestone, Zivame, studied all of these companies. And I realized e-commerce was not a fad. It was here to stay. It was changing consumer behavior. And the third thing I saw is 2014, our government changed. Ministry of Ayush was created. And Prime Minister Modi was talking about Ayurveda everywhere he went. The Patanjali revolution was happening. And so hundreds of thousands of consumers like you, Shiny, became interested in Ayurveda, right? This was the macro environment, which sort of was at the back of my mind. Then my grandfather passed. And so I quit my job to take on my family's Ayurveda lens, right? So that was that at that time. Now, 2017, 2018, 2016, I tried to build offline. I failed miserably. 2017, we pivoted online. 2018, we started our 2017-18, we started our journey building a D2C focused or online focused Ayurveda brand. And it was very tough at that time. Why? Because customers were not really buying so much stuff online. If they were buying online, they needed lots of convincing to buy online, right? And so that was the world we were living in that time. We struggled and got to 50 orders a day and then started scaling the business. We got to about, let's say, 500, 700 orders a day pre-COVID, right? Then this thing called COVID happened. And I think with COVID, what happened was that demand surged for Ayurveda, right? Because Ayurvedic immunity boosters were considered the go-to, right? The government was talking about Chavanprash, Kadha, Ashwagandha, Guduchi, which is Giloy. And so with that demand surge, the mainstreaming of Ayurveda further happened, right? And today, 2 years from the beginning of COVID, while demand for Ayurveda surged, what I kept on telling people at that time was, look, consumers are coming in for immunity. It's our job as an Ayurveda industry to keep them in after they buy the immunity product. because this immunity wave will go, or this obsession with immunity will go away. And so I think that the best brands in this time actually explained or educated consumers on an Ayurvedic lifestyle. And so I would say that the mainstreaming of Ayurveda started in 2014, but COVID was really a fillip to make it a part of every single household, even in urban India. And I think one interesting stat, when I started, people used to say, hey, Ayurveda is not something we believe in urban India, etc. All of that. 70% of Indian households consume at least one Ayurvedic product. Number 72%. Our job as an Ayurveda industry is to make that 2, 3, 4, 5 products, right? So knowledge about Ayurveda, trust in Ayurveda, almost all of us have grown up having Chyawanprash at least once, right? So it's ingrained into us, this thing called Ayurveda. Now scaling that and making it large, that's our job.
But Arjun, was it easy to build this trust online, especially online? Because I see D2C, FMCG, when it comes to, products like baby care or skin care or, all that has surged massively. But here is something that we need to intake, we need to swallow or eat. So there it becomes a little more difficult to convince someone. How did you manage to do that?
Yeah, look, it's not easy. Nothing is easy. Firstly, building a brand is not easy. It's a process which takes a lot of patience, grit, resilience, and eventual sort of consumer understanding. So I would say that trust for us, we built with one, obviously we had 150 years of legacy and we talked to consumers about that. Two, we actually used consumer stories. Right? When the product works and people talk about it, that really helps. And three, we focus not just on educating about our product, we focus on educating about Ayurveda, right? So I'll tell you about one initiative we did, which did very well and also built a lot of goodwill for the brand. We started a WhatsApp group called Daily Ayurvedic Tips. Every day at 7 p.m., we would send you one tip about Ayurveda. 6 out of the 7 tips in the week were non-branded, right? So this was an opt-in set of consumers who clicked on our website or post ordering from us or found this link somewhere, friend shared with them, and they clicked to join this WhatsApp group. Eventually, we had 100 WhatsApp groups. At that time, it was a 256 limit. So 100 WhatsApp groups of, let's say, 250 people. 25,000 people every day got one tip from Dr. Vaidyas. While the tip wasn't branded, in most cases, it was only once a week branded or talking about a product. We talk about Ayurveda, dosha, Ayurveda and yoga, herbs, ancient philosophies, living the Ayurvedic lifestyle, Ayurvedic diet, etc. All of that. Every time you got that every day and you read it, the group logo was a Dr. Vaidyas logo. So the back of your mind, this stuck, right? And so that mentality of building education, learning, and community was ingrained in us from day one and really helped us as a brand to build that cult following.
So going pure D2C is the way, talking to the consumer at the grassroots level and, taking those insights to build that trust is what really worked for you.
Absolutely.
Awesome. That is an amazing, takeaway that I have from this conversation and many more to come. So Arjun, we have this something called omni-channel now. So all brands are trying to be omni-channel. Your D2C brands are going retail, your retail brands are going D2C. Everyone's trying to do everything. You're a VC, you're a mentor. What is your take on this entire space? Is it a mandate for everyone? Everyone has to do everything, or is it a pick and choose?
Yeah, my take is very simple. My take is go where the customer wants you to buy your product, right? So if the customer wants to buy you offline, you got to go offline. If the customer wants to buy you online, you got to go online. If the customer wants to buy you on Amazon, you got to go on Amazon, right? So look, I think D2C is transitioning from your own website consumption to online consumption to eventually a way of creating a brand, a disruptive brand, a new age brand, insurgent brand. You see D2C brands going offline, right? Building offline presence through GT and MT. And people ask me then, are the brands ready D2C? And I say actually D2C is a mentality. It's a way of thinking. It means agility. It means nimbleness. It means close connect with your customers. And so you see lots of D2C brands saying, okay, we built online, but our customer wants to buy our coffee or our chips or our snacks at their local store as well. They want to buy it on Swiggy, Instamart. So why not go there, right? You have to give the customer the ability to consume where he or she wants to consume, right? And I buy certain things on Amazon. I buy certain things on Big Basket. I buy certain things on Nikon. I buy certain things on the brand website. And I buy certain things offline.
Correct.
And so for a brand, it's very important to figure out where the customer wants to consume the product.
Absolutely. Makes perfect sense. I think even for our upcoming events like the online retail, iMedia online retail summit, this is something that I've been struggling with building content. Is I don't want to call a particular brand a D2C brand. Every brand is a D2C brand, the way I see it, right? Awesome. So, let's talk about some stuff where marketers face challenges, and I want to get your take on, social media platforms, the established social media platforms that are there, and we see let me not call them D2C, let me call them the new age brands who are coming up are extensively, on D2C or on social media platforms. What is your take on that? Is that the right way for them to reach the consumer, or is there other options?
When you are making a purchase, right? You go on a brand website or you go a brand Instagram page and check it out, right? So if you're telling me, even if you're an offline focused brand, you don't have a active Instagram page or active Facebook page, then you can't survive in this environment, right?
Then
So
you're not new age, of course.
it's hygiene, right? It's like having a customer care number. You have to have it. It's reality. It's where customers do research. It's where customers have discovery. So you have to have it.
Makes sense. Absolutely. What new age channels do you think, make a lot of sense, or you think show a lot of promise?
I think I'll tell you what I'm seeing now. I think YouTube, especially for organic content as well as loyalty and community building, YouTube's an exciting channel. I think Facebook is losing its sheen for urban products, but still for sort of semi-urban tier 2, tier 3 focused products. We actually advertise much more on Facebook than Instagram, for example, right? So I think Facebook for that. Then I think WhatsApp for marketing and retention. It's a very exciting channel now that the APIs are opening up. So I like WhatsApp. I think
Jio just launched its entire store on WhatsApp.
On WhatsApp, yeah, very, very exciting channel. And look, you always open your WhatsApp, right? Like you're always opening your WhatsApp. You won't miss a WhatsApp, right?
Correct.
And WhatsApp has launched that filter unread messages feature as well now. So I think WhatsApp's an interesting channel for retention, for sure. And then I would say that, like, I think I'm seeing brands use very interesting new channels, right? Like TikTok was used by a lot of brands until it was there. Now these short video platforms are being used pretty extensively. I've seen brands leveraging in shorts nicely. I've seen brands leveraging LinkedIn, right? I actively create content on LinkedIn. I write a lot on LinkedIn. I've had brands reach out to me to do promoted posts, right? And I was so, while I didn't do it, I was so excited to see brands thinking about using LinkedIn to engage with customers, right? So I think world is your oyster. You've got to find out where your customers, who your customers, and go to them where they want to be talked to.
So what about e-com marketplaces, your Amazons and Flipkarts of the world? How do, and it's a crowded world there. So how should brands really kind of, gain visibility there, where you're bidding against yourself most of the time?
Yeah, so look, I think it's become, e-commerce is a technical business and D2C is a technical business today. An Amazon listing should be optimized in a certain way. You should understand what words you should use in your title, how many images you should have, right? You should have 6 images at least, one with the front of your product, one with the back of your product, one with the ingredients, one with the features, one with the customer testimonial. You should have one video of your product. On platforms like Amazon, you should create A+ content. You should understand the ad product on Amazon, sponsored products, sponsored keywords, etc. All of that. So on marketplaces, they're very strong channels because they give you already ready traffic, but they are competitive channels. And so you want to figure out what it takes to win on that channel, technically as well as building relationship. Like for example, Flipkart is a channel which has huge sales in big billion days. You got to crack big billion days. Some brands get 30% of the yearly sales on Flipkart through the big billion day period, right? So if you are on Flipkart, you want to win on Flipkart, you got to crack big billion days, right? I would say understanding each platform for its nuances and technicalities in this competitive world is critical and crucial.
Awesome. So since most of them, most D2C or new age or any brand for that matter, majority of their spends, the budget spend is on marketing, right? That is a major chunk. Is there a way for them to reduce this, bring, more and more people to their own e-commerce site or to their own website? Is that a logical way to go forward?
Look, I think for Dr. Vaidyas, it made sense, right? Because we wanted to control the repeats. And Ayurveda takes 3 to 6 months in diabetes, arthritis, asthma to show effect. We had to be able to control the repeats. But I would say that don't run away from the marketplace channel. have your website, but if the customers telling you they want to buy from marketplace, why would you force them to go to your website, right? So think about that as well. Obviously, there are advantages of your website, right? There is the advantage of controlling the customer data, being able to control the repeats. But if the customer acquisition cost is significantly higher, it may actually make sense to double down on marketplaces.
Logistics as well, right? Shipping and everything is kind of taken care of. A
Well,
lot of benefits.
taken care of, but you pay for it, right? Through your commissions. So
yes, absolutely. What do you think of influencer marketing, Arjun? It seems to be very, very popular. Where do you think this is headed for D2C or for new age brands?
It's part of the stack. It's part of the stack. You have to do it. You got to be smart about the way you do it. You got to understand that influencer marketing is not performance marketing. You will not get ROI in terms of sales on day one. You'll have to set different metrics like website clicks, sticker taps, page visits, and then eventually move to ROI. But you got to be smart about who you use. You got to choose the right people that resonate with your brand, whose audience resonates with what your brand is trying to say. So even that's getting more technical. There are so many tools you can use to understand influencers, who their audiences are, etc. So yeah, I would say from 2016 to today, e-commerce is a much more technical business.
Correct. And 2015, let me come back to, I think you talked a lot about marketing and lots to take away from here. But as a VC and as a founder, in 2015, how have the VC expectations kind of changed, both from marketers, both for brands? What is?
I would say that I was an investor in 2013 to 16, but I was an analyst at a private equity fund who was really young, and I didn't know so much then. And now I'm in these sort of new shoes as an investor. I would say that I think what's new is that e-commerce has allowed even niche categories to be built, right? So if you think of M-caffeine, right? It's caffeinated cosmetics. If you think of Neiman's, it's climate friendly or sustainable footwear. I think these are, if you think of Zook, it's sort of cruelty free accessories products. This was not being built in 2015 and 16, right? And so e-commerce has allowed niche brands who have pockets of hundreds or thousands of consumers in cities to aggregate this demand on one channel and allow them to create large businesses even in these spaces, right? That's the large difference. The other thing is that 100 crores a year was a goalpost benchmark that we used to just dream about. Brands have shattered that benchmark now. It's absolutely shattered that benchmark at a much faster pace than we were used to seeing. So I think those are the two large changes that we've seen from 2015 to now. And I think e-commerce is mainstream now. So that's a huge change.
Yep. But I also wanted to understand, Arjun, is like in 2015 or, when we were seeing the VC surge happening, a lot of money being pumped into the market, and the VCs are like, just scale it, no matter at what cost, scale it. Is there a change in mindset now? Are we coming to unit economics? Are we coming?
Look, a D2C business for me was always a P&L business, right? There is sales, there is discounts, there is net revenue, there is gross margin, there is customer acquisition cost, logistics cost, and eventually there's a contribution margin or a bottom line. And that never changed. And we've always, at least in D2C, talked about path to profitability, about bottom line metrics, about repeat, about lifetime value of customers, etc. So that never changed in our space specifically. And I always believe D2C consumer brands will be a P&L business.
Correct. So last question for you, Arjun, today. So what advice would you give D2C brands starting up today, or people who are in their initial phases of growth, say let's say 0 to 3 years? What are, if you could pick 3 important aspects for them to focus on?
Sure, I will. So I'll tell you 4 maybe, actually, if not 3. Number 1, it's a competitive environment where you will fail a lot. I underestimate the amount of failure that I would go through before I got to scale. And so just be ready to fight failure with grit and resilience. That's 1. Number 2, you can't do it alone, right? I thought that I was young and could work 16 hours. Compounding and serious growth cannot be achieved without an empowered team, right? And so I think building a strong team from day one is critical. Number 3, lots of people start their D2C brands as hobbies. Startups and D2C brands in the competitive environment today are not hobbies. You will not get huge scale if you could treat them like a hobby. It's a full-time thing. It's okay if you don't want to be full-time. If you do want to be full-time, think about it as my podcast, which is my hobby, right? Dr. Vaidyas was not my hobby. And the last piece of advice I would say is, it's a technical business today. So you need to know what a conversion friendly website is, what is SEO, how to list on a marketplace, how to use Facebook and Google advertising. Should I use Shopify or WooCommerce for my website? How do I manage my warehousing, logistics, supply chain? What do I need to do for retention, marketing automation, customer flows? All of these things are important. I took 1 year to learn it. You have 8 weeks to learn it before you start, because there's lots of competition. That's the reason we teach this, right? We run a cohort-based course because we want to give this knowledge. But D2C and e-commerce, as I've said multiple times in this conversation, is becoming competitive, and with competition, it's becoming technical. Having said all these sort of boring things, I would say the next decade is the decade of D2C. I do believe in the $100 billion number. I believe we'll have multiple unicorns. We'll have thousands of exciting brands created. And I'm just excited to sit back and watch the ride and enjoy all of these brands as a customer and an investor right now.
I know it's a wonderful time to be alive. It's a wonderful time to be in this industry when so much is happening. And the pandemic, of course, gave it all a boost. So good thing about the pandemic was that. So thank you so much, Arjun. I think we've learned so much from you today. We've heard so many interesting things. And the one big thing that I take away is, is that, this is D2C is not a passion project. This is serious game. It's serious competition, and be prepared for failure. Have a fantastic team working with you. And those are two things that can really, really work in your behalf. So thank you so much, Arjun. Wonderful speaking with you, and see you soon.
Thank you, Shani.